Hey guys, Anthony Beckham here. Welcome to the channel where real estate is life. Today we're gonna be talking about how you can make money in real estate even as a teenager. And you know what? It is awesome that you guys are even thinking about this and that you're here watching this video, because if you implement these steps we're gonna be talking about today, you could easily make 6 figures your first year in real estate, just like I did, and be making more than your parents and teachers combined. So let's go ahead and hop right into it, because you aren't getting any younger. So we're gonna be talking about the different methods that you can use to get into real estate. You know, wholesaling, flipping houses, rentals, and even getting your real estate license. Starting with wholesaling. Wholesaling is a strategy that I really like, because really, it's just the art of finding a good deal. And not only that, but you can just make so much money without really having to put a whole lot of money up front or a whole lot of risk. I mean, I've made anywhere from $2,500 to even $30,000 on one wholesale deal. So what exactly is wholesaling? Basically, wholesaling is finding a good deal on real estate, working directly with the seller to get the home under contract, meaning you have an accepted agreement between you and the seller. And then from there, you find an investor who's willing to pay more for it, meaning you don't do any work to the house. You don't have to put any money down. You don't have to qualify for a loan. I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true, but the truth is that there's a lot of money to be made. I am so busy with the real estate sales that I don't even really focus on this strategy. And I did 2 wholesale deals last year that totaled over $50,000 in profit. So as you can see, that can be a huge game changer for you, especially if you're just getting started. And that's why wholesaling is one of my favorite techniques that we're gonna talk about today. So let's start with the story of my first wholesale deal. We were doing advertising for people going into foreclosure, and we had a guy give us a call who needed to sell his house because he was behind on payments. So I went out there, I checked it out, kind of assessed how much it was worth, what kind of work it needed, and I gave him an offer of $115,000. After he accepted my $115,000 offer, I went and I took photos of his property. I took my drone out there to like show off the property and the way it was situated on the hillside. And then all I did was make a Craigslist ad listing it at $128,000. I had several people call me literally just off of that Craigslist ad. And this was the first wholesale deal I was ever involved with, so I wasn't really sure how it was gonna turn out. Like I said, I was getting plenty of calls, plenty of people that wanted to check it out, and I ended up getting that full price offer of $128,000. And you know, within a month, we had it closed. Basically, I just assigned the contract that I had for $115,000 with the seller to the new guy for $128,000 and made the $13,000 in between. And you know, it goes without saying, but obviously I was stoked. I know of kids that are still in high school and they're using this strategy to go out there and make money in real estate. Now, one caveat is that you can't sign a legally binding contract if you are under the age of 18. So what a lot of these kids are doing is they're finding the properties and then having their parents or an older sibling or a friend, basically just someone who's 18, sign that contract that you can work with. And really, all you gotta do is find the deal. If you find a good deal, there's always gonna be an investor out there who's willing to buy it from you, especially in a real estate market like we're in today. There are so many people that are looking for good deals that you could literally get away with just making a Craigslist ad like I did, or using the Facebook marketplace, or forums like biggerpockets.com. There's always someone that's gonna be out there to buy a deal if you have a good deal on the hook. Next is flipping houses. Now, flipping houses is basically the same thing as wholesaling, except for this time you're going to find the property, you're gonna put it under contract, and then you're actually gonna buy it. You're gonna fix it up, and then you're gonna put it on the market so that a retail buyer, like a family, is going to buy it and move in, and that's your end customer, rather than an investor like it would be with a wholesale deal. Flipping houses is usually gonna be a lot more risky and need a lot more upfront money to get into it, and it's just just a lot more complicated. So I normally don't recommend getting into flipping houses for beginners. I've personally done deals where we've done an $80,000 remodel and there's a ton of work. I mean, I even did a lot of the work myself, and it was a very stressful process. So unless you have some sort of background knowledge or can partner with somebody who's already done it, this would likely be a pretty tough strategy to implement. And with that being said, you also have to come up with a good amount down, or a lot of times you have to buy these houses cash, which of course most people don't have the cash to buy it outright. So they either are, getting advances on credit cards, are doing hard money loans, which you pay a lot of points on and real high interest. The biggest benefit of flipping houses over some of the other strategies is really just the amount of money that you can make, especially all in one lump sum. In most markets, wholesale fees are going to be typically around $8,000 to $15,000 plus, depending on where you're at, where someone usually won't even touch a flip unless they're making $30,000 plus, just because there's so much more work that goes into it. But obviously, if you're making $30,000, $50,000 plus on a flip, I mean, heck, you could do one a year and still survive off of that. But of course, the more you do, the more money you're gonna make. You can get started flipping houses as young as 18 years old. You will have to be at least 18 years old because of the fact that in the United States, you have to be an adult to sign a legally binding contract like a mortgage loan or a deed on a property for you to be the legal owner. Again, I wouldn't recommend flipping houses to a beginner just because of all the moving parts, and more so because of the amount of risk. You actually have to put yourself into debt or come up with a good amount of cash, usually to get into these homes, which just means you have a lot more to lose. If this is a strategy that you're gonna implement as a beginner, I would certainly recommend having some sort of partner that's done this before. Another active way of making thousands of dollars in real estate is getting your real estate license. Honestly, I personally wish I would have gotten my real estate license earlier. I got my real estate license whenever I was 21, and even though, of course, I was a young guy out there selling real estate, I still made 100 grand my very first year as a real estate agent. Becoming a real estate agent is a great way to get started because it exposes you to so much real estate experience. And that was kind of my thought on it. If I became a real estate agent, then I was gonna be able to learn how it all worked, make more money, which would help me eventually invest in real estate more, which is the stage that I'm at now. Real estate commissions in my area are usually right around $6,000 plus on average. So usually most of my sales are gonna be somewhere at 6,000 minimum, 10, 15,000 is pretty common. And I've made commissions on one sale as much as $30,000 before. So whenever you sell 100 homes a year, like I do, you can do the math and see that that can quickly add up to a very lucrative business. And I wish I would have gotten started earlier. So even if you're looking at some of the other strategies and becoming a real estate investor, I still recommend getting your real estate license just so you have that under your belt, and it's just another tool in your toolkit. Last but not least, we have property rentals. I went in and got pre-approved for my first home loan whenever I was 19 years old. And to be able to get pre-approved, you're gonna need a good credit score. You're gonna need to have a job. Likely, if you're an employee, you'll wanna be there for at least 6 to 12 months. And if you're some sort of business owner or 1099 independent contractor, then you're gonna need to have at least 2 years tax returns, and likely just a little bit of money set aside, even if you're able to get the seller to cover your closing costs, or if you use a no or low down payment assistant program, you will still need to have a little bit off to the side just for inspections and your due diligence with the property. An important part of getting pre-approved is having that good credit score. And the biggest thing that holds you back is the fact that normally you need to have 6 to 12 months of credit history to be able to get pre-approved. Luckily, I made a video all about that, so you guys can check out the link where it's gonna go in depth on how to get started, even if you are 18 or younger. Just to touch on the subject briefly, because credit is so important in this process, is I would recommend going in and getting a few secured credit cards. You can do this at your local bank or local credit union, and I think that's usually the best way to get started at 18 years old. Once you have 6 months credit history, you can talk to a lender and start the process of getting pre-approved. And what I wish I would have done and what I wish I would have known about, you should ask your lender about an FHA loan. This loan is only gonna require a 3.5% down payment. And one of the best things about it is the fact that you can actually get up to a 4-unit complex. Meaning you could essentially, your first house, you could essentially move into 1 unit and rent out the other 3. And if you buy right, you could have 3 tenants paying your full mortgage and you living for free or even making a little bit of money each month on your very first real estate purchase. This is one of my biggest regrets as a real estate investor, is the fact that I was scared to take out a bigger loan to buy a complex. And I guess it was just because I was looking at homes and that was several $100,000 more in most cases to get a multi-unit. But I just didn't think about the fact that who cares that it's more, because literally somebody else would be paying for it. So I would say this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made, that if I could go back, I would change that and go get myself a 4-unit with only that 3.5% down, because you're gonna be ahead of where most people are in life in literally just one purchase. So let's look at an example of a $300,000 fourplex. The loan payment on your $300,000 house would be $1,782 on a fixed rate 30-year loan, and that's including your taxes, insurance, and PMI. Let's assume that each unit is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath and rents out for $700 a month. But you're gonna rent out the other 3 units, meaning you're gonna make $2,100 a month in gross rents. So if you're getting $2,100 each month in rents minus your $1,782 payment, that would leave you with $318 a month in profit. And on top of that $318 that you're making a month, remember, you're living for free. You don't have any housing expense. So just imagine being a renter, you would be paying that $700 a month for that unit. But because you own the whole building, you can essentially live there for free. Now, as a homeowner, there are things that you're gonna wanna take into consideration. You know, every once in a while, you may have a vacancy or there may be a repair that comes up. So it's good to put that, let's say $318 a month aside, plus maybe a couple $100 since you're saving so much money living for free, so that you can have some sort of reserve account so that you are covered whenever those things do happen. And just think about it. If you buy a fourplex and you're getting $2,100 a month, you have a $1,700 some payment. Well, even if you did have 1 unit vacant, you'd still be making $1,400 a month, even with 1 unit vacant. So that means you'd still be living in a $700+ apartment for as little as $300 and something a month. And that's with a vacancy. Now you've been living in that fourplex for about a year and you're ready to go off and buy your next investment property. Well, now you get to fill in that 4th unit with another tenant paying $700 a month. So now do all that math that you did before, except for now you have $2,800 a month in gross rents. That's over $1,000 a month in profit that you're gonna be making month after month. Not to mention that rents go up every year. So maybe next year it's $725 and you're making an extra $100 a month, and the year after that and the year after that. Not to mention you have an appreciating asset that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars that someone else is buying for you. They are making the payments. And so you're gonna have the benefits of appreciation, that cash flow, the tax benefits, and a portion of that monthly payment goes to your principal, meaning that someone else is paying down that loan every month for you. I bought my first house in this very neighborhood for $115,000 about 4 or 5 years ago. That same house is worth $200,000 today. I have a $700 mortgage payment and my renter pays me $1,150 a month. And while I make $450 a month on that rental property and have something like $80,000 plus in equity, I still can't help but regret that I didn't buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex is really what I wish I would have done, just because all the gains that I've seen from that rental property and all the benefits of owning a rental property would be ×4. So whenever you're shopping for that first property, I recommend getting yourself a multi-unit that you can move into, because even if the numbers look big and scary, just remember, as long as you're being conservative on the rental numbers and calculating that in, you may not be making that payment at all. So it doesn't really matter how much it costs if someone else is buying it for you. These are questions that I get asked all the time, so I hope that you guys found it helpful. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to follow us on the journey to Real Estate Millionaire. And again, it's awesome that you guys are here. It's awesome that you guys are looking into this. I wish I would have got into real estate even sooner, now that I know all the opportunity that's there. And if you get started now, you're gonna be making moves in real estate in no time. So like I said, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, I will see you guys on the next one. See ya.